4 weeks before my wedding, I logged into our joint savings account to pay the final venue deposit and found it completely empty. $180,000. 6 years of saving. Gone. My sister had drained it to pay her divorce attorney, and when I confronted her, she told me I'd understand once I was really married. I understood something that day, just not the things she meant. If you've ever trusted family with something that mattered and watched them treat it like it was theirs to take, hit like and subscribe because you need to see how this ends. Comment below and tell me the moment you realized someone in your family saw you as a resource instead of a person. I read everyone. Now, let me take you back to how that account even existed in the first place. My name is Grace Delgado. I'm 30, and for 6 years, I'd been quietly saving toward the wedding I always pictured. Small, intentional, paid for entirely on my own terms. No debt, no compromises forced by someone else's budget. I'm a contracts manager for a mid-sized construction firm, methodical by nature and by profession, the kind of person who reads every clause before signing anything, which made what happened to that account feel like an especially cruel kind of irony. Backstory. 4 years earlier, my sister Vanessa had asked me to open a joint savings account with her, framed as a just-in-case safety net between sisters, something either of us could access if there was ever a genuine emergency. I agreed, because Vanessa had just married her husband, Ethan, and I wanted to believe the request came from a place of real trust rather than convenience. What I didn't fully register at the time was that Vanessa had a long, quiet history of treating shared resources as though proximity equaled ownership. She'd borrowed my car for what was supposed to be a weekend and kept it for 3 weeks in college. She'd used my credit card once for just one purchase that turned into $400 I never saw repaid. Small things individually, the kind of small things families absorb without naming them because naming them feels disproportionate to the size of any single incident. I kept the accounts separate in my head, even though it was technically joint, depositing steadily from every paycheck for 6 years, watching it grow toward the number I'd need for the wedding I wanted. A small estate venue, a caterer I'd researched for months, a dress I'd already had fitted. Vanessa's marriage to Ethan had been struggling for the better part of 2 years, something I knew in the vague way you know things about a sibling's life when they only tell you the parts that make them look reasonable. What I didn't know was that 6 weeks before my own wedding, Vanessa had quietly hired a divorce attorney, one of the more aggressive firms in the city, the kind that charges a substantial retainer up front, and that she needed cash immediately to secure representation before Ethan could hire someone equally aggressive first. Triggering incident. I found the account was empty on a Tuesday evening, 4 weeks before my wedding, trying to transfer the final deposit for our venue. I remember staring at the screen, refreshing it twice, certain it was some kind of banking error, before calling the bank directly and learning that a transfer of $180,000 had gone out 11 days earlier to an account belonging to a law firm I didn't recognize. I called Vanessa immediately, my hands shaking so badly I had to sit down. "Vanessa, where's the money?" I asked, and I could hear in the pause before she answered that she'd already prepared her explanation. "Grace, I need you to not overreact," she said. "I hired an attorney for the divorce. A good one. It required a retainer, and I didn't have that kind of cash sitting anywhere else. I was going to pay it back before your wedding, I promise. I just need a little time." 6 years of saving, and she needed a little time 11 days before I needed the money for a deposit I could no longer make. "That's my wedding fund, Vanessa," I said, and I could hear my own voice climbing to something I rarely let myself reach. Her response, the one I still think about, was, "I know it feels big right now, Grace, but you'll understand once you're really married and realize what actually matters. A venue deposit isn't the end of the world. My entire future is on the line here." As though my 6 years of careful, deliberate saving were somehow less real than her sudden, unplanned emergency, simply because I hadn't announced it as dramatically. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten her with anything in that moment. I hung up and I did what I do professionally. I started reading every document I could find related to that joint account. The original account agreement, the transfer authorization, the specific language around what counted as an emergency withdrawal. What I found was that Vanessa had technically had the legal right to move the funds. It was a joint account after all. But what she may not have fully understood, because she'd never bothered to read the paperwork she'd asked me to sign 4 years earlier, was that our account had a secondary feature, a linked overdraft protection clause tied to my direct deposit, meaning any large withdrawal that dropped the account below a certain threshold triggered an automatic notification and a 72-hour hold on the receiving end for first-time transfers to a new payee. Her retainer transfer, being a first-time transfer to a law firm neither of us had used before, was still sitting in a 72-hour verification hold. It hadn't actually cleared to the law firm yet. I also discovered something else while reading through those documents, something that had nothing to do with banking and everything to do with what I do for a living. Vanessa's divorce attorney was aggressively pursuing a settlement narrative built around Ethan hiding marital assets, the same law firm known in local legal circles for that exact playbook. And in reviewing the joint account statements going back 6 years, the ones that included Vanessa's occasional deposits during the early years of her marriage, I noticed deposits from an account under Ethan's name. Deposits Vanessa had apparently never disclosed as marital income in the financial documentation I'd seen her preparing at my kitchen table 2 weeks earlier. I want to be clear about something here. I didn't do what I did next out of spite. I did it because I'd spent 6 years believing my sister and I operated with a baseline of honesty towards each other, and watching her take my wedding fund to fund a legal strategy built on dishonesty towards her own husband made something in me finally stop excusing the pattern. I called Vanessa's ex-husband's attorney directly, not to sabotage my sister out of revenge, but because contract law and financial disclosure aren't things I'm willing to pretend I didn't see clearly once I'd seen them. I explained, factually, without editorializing, that I'd noticed deposits in a joint account I co-owned that appeared to originate from an account under Ethan's name during the marriage, deposits that hadn't appeared to be disclosed in the financial documentation I understood Vanessa's legal team was preparing. I provided nothing confidential that wasn't already legally mine to share as a co-owner of that account. I simply told the truth, the same way my father had walked into a wedding reception months earlier and told the truth about a house. The 72-hour hold on Vanessa's retainer transfer gave the bank time to flag the transaction after I formally disputed it as an unauthorized emergency withdrawal outside the account's stated purpose, a claim I was fully within my rights to make as co-owner. The funds were returned to the account 8 days later, minus a small administrative delay fee, 4 days before my wedding, just in time to cover the venue balance. Vanessa's divorce case, meanwhile, took an entirely different shape once her attorney discovered the undisclosed deposit history. Her aggressive settlement strategy against Ethan collapsed almost entirely once it became clear she hadn't been fully honest with her own legal team either, and the divorce settled months faster and far less favorably for her than she'd originally hoped, largely because the narrative she'd been building fell apart under its own inconsistencies. Vanessa called me 3 days after the funds were returned, furious, accusing me of sabotaging her future to save a party. I let her finish. Then I said the only thing I really needed to say. You took 6 years of my life to fund a lawsuit built on lies you were telling your own attorney. I didn't sabotage anything, Vanessa. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences of decisions you made without me. We didn't speak for almost 4 months after that. My wedding happened without her, a decision I made deliberately, not out of punishment, but because I needed the day to belong to something honest. My parents were hurt by the rift initially until I sat them down and walked them through exactly what had happened, calmly, with the same account statements I'd shown the bank. My mother, to her credit, was the one who eventually told Vanessa directly that she needed to take real accountability if she wanted any relationship with me going forward. Vanessa reached out around the 6-month mark, not with an elaborate apology, but with something smaller and more honest, an offer to repay, in installments, the administrative fees the dispute had cost me, along with a message that read simply, "I've been in therapy since the divorce finalized. I think I've spent my whole life assuming your steadiness meant you didn't need protecting the way I did. I'm sorry I took that as permission." It wasn't everything, but it was the first time she'd named the pattern instead of excusing it. We're rebuilding something now, slowly, carefully. The way you rebuild trust with someone's version of love once looked a lot like entitlement. I don't regret the phone call I made to that attorney. I regret a little that it took 6 years of quiet trust being spent before I finally read the fine print on my own family relationships the way I'd always read them professionally. Has someone in your family ever treated your trust like it was theirs to spend? Tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that protecting yourself isn't the same thing as betrayal. Until next time, this is Grace, reminding you that the fine print exists for a reason, especially with the people closest to you.